What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Team Morale Podcast, where we talk a little bit of booze, a little bit of beer, and a whole lot of basketball. It is currently 11:06 on Wednesday draft night, and this is our live reaction podcast. No editing here, no sound clips, no music, no nothing. We're just throwing this up there to see what we can get up as quick as we can. And we've got a full panel today. I'm joined by the tall guy, Mitch. We've got ladies man, Tom, and producer Jay here with us. And we're just here to talk our takes on the draft so far and have a little bit of whiskey. Guys, what do you think?
Well, let me start off. Let me start with the whiskey before we jump into the basketball and get carried away. So today we have Old Dominick Huling Station, very small batch, straight bourbon whiskey. And I went to Specs earlier today. Shout out Specs. And when I was talking to the guy, he recommended this for me. He said that it's only 3 weeks old, being sold nationally. So I figured, new bourbon, new blood in the NBA. Might as well get started with this, and we'll all sip on it, and we'll tell you our takes on it later.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it definitely hits you in the face with the whiskey. I saw Tom take a sip, and there was a grimace. I took a sip, there was a grimace.
I like it.
I'm about to have my first sip, so I'll give you a live reaction.
Yep. Yeah. Same as everyone else. There it is.
Big grimace.
Big old face.
Jay's eyes went real wide
Yeah.
and he goes, "Oh boy."
I think saying that we're sipping this is the key word there. Sipping is definitely
we will
the
not
right word
be
for this
finishing
one.
the bottle tonight. This is 100 proof, I believe, and it is.
Is it really?
It is.
Oh
it
my
is
God.
Smooth for 100 proof, but it's still 100 proof.
Yeah, it was like first made in 1866, this brand, and they wanted to like make this specific bourbon super authentic to it, so it's 100 proof. And it's like 44% rye, which is a lot on their mash bill. So it's definitely gonna have a lot of kick. I thought it tasted a lot like menthol, which
Great.
I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I kind of like it.
Dear God. Well, we have a lot to get into tonight. We're gonna try to squeeze as much as we can into our live podcast. We cannot stress this enough. We are just gonna be talking into the mic tonight. Not a lot of bells and whistles with this one. We're just gonna give you guys some raw reaction to what just happened to us. And boy, did a lot happen tonight, gentlemen. We have a lot to get through. What are your initial takes so far on what's happening with the draft? Because as of right now, we are still currently in the second round while we're recording this.
Yeah, I thought that, like, my first thought was there was a lot of movement as far as people moving up and down and, like, trading picks. I think that there was more movement this draft, especially in the last couple of drafts. And there was some trades that happened, but we're going to be talking a lot more about the trades later tonight. It's like really specifically draft stuff.
So for me, I think the word I would use is probably chaos. The first 3 picks were pretty much what we thought they'd be, but then after that, it was just all over the place. I mean, we had no like a real sense of the order or like what was gonna really happen tonight. I think as soon as the Bulls picked Patrick Williams at 4, just the floodgates went open and all this like crazy stuff was happening. Then Okoro went after that, and it just everything just seemed to flux from then on out, I thought.
Yeah, the first 3 kind of went as expected,
Yeah.
and then after that, just straight anarchy.
I
There
remember
was
seeing
no rhyme or reason to stuff happening. There were players going way too high, going way too low, and wow, we have just breaking news.
Jay's
Paul
over the moon.
Reed just got picked by the 76ers, and that is Jay's number 1 guy this year. Jay, talk to us about Paul Reed.
All right, so Paul Reed's going to be the big sleeper that everyone is going to be wondering how they missed him at the end of the year when we look back at this draft in 5 years. He is going to push the 76ers to a title contender and probably a title championship. He is a great stretch 4 that's going to be dominant down there with Joel Embiid. They're just going to lock it down. I'm really jealous. I was kind of hoping he'd go undrafted and the Nuggets could get him.
Also, are we sure that the Sixers have that pick at this point? Who knows anymore?
Honestly, so much moving around where it's like that's been the hardest thing is keeping track of who's actually on whose team anymore.
There are no rules.
But honestly, like,
no rules.
that's not a bad pick for Daryl Morey if that does stay with the same team. So
Yeah, the Stones ended up with our pick, with the Blazers pick.
Stones got a lot of picks tonight. Stones are still making moves right now, probably as we speak.
Oh gosh, everything.
I couldn't believe it.
Every 2 seconds, something's happening, and everyone's kind of just trying to hang on for this wild ride and see what's going on. But let's talk about best value pick so far tonight, gentlemen. Who do you think has been the best bang for their buck tonight?
So I'll probably steal it. I loved Halliburton at 12. I think that's A lot of teams just pass on a good guy. I think he probably could have gotten anywhere from 7 to 12 and been a good fit, but I think for the Kings to get him at 12 is an awesome fit. I mean, we really have no clue what will happen with Fox or with Bogdanovich or with Buddy Hield next couple of years. So getting someone like Halliburton that they can have control over for the next few years is just awesome value. He can definitely sort of learn behind Fox for the next couple of years to sort of see what happens with that. So I thought that was just a great pick.
I'm going to sound a little bit like a homer here, but my big pick is R.J. Hampton going to the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets did what they do best. They went for a high talent guy that is probably going to develop in a couple years. R.J. Hampton was thought of being a top 10 pick going into this year. He's got great athleticism skills, and we'll see if his jumper develops.
So Tom was just whispering to me that was one of the few picks that we actually got right from our mock draft.
One of the 4, I believe.
Four for 30.
I crunched the numbers. I believe.
Honestly, we were pretty good about being in the right areas for everyone. They just kind of fell to different teams.
Is 4 to 30 good? It's pretty
not,
good.
It's not
pretty
good. It is not good.
Yeah, we got the first 2 picks right. My beloved Stones at 7 with Killian Hayes, and then Hampton at whatever pick that was at. So I don't even know, 22 or whatever.
So actually, for real, 2 of my favorite value picks here is both by the Pistons. I think Saddiq Bey going all the way down to 19.
You're being a tease.
Like, you can't be nice to the Pistons.
And then Killian Hayes at 7. I think that Killian Hayes is one of the few guys that actually could have star potential coming out of this draft. I mean, I love Killian Hayes, and then Saddiq Bey falling all the way down to 19. For you guys to grab them, I think that those are 2 of the better value picks. Pistons, to me, won this draft.
I think they would have won it for sure if they hadn't taken Isaiah Stewart at 16.
Yeah, that was weird.
Well, no. So what I have been reading and hearing is that they have been they went to Aaron Nesmith's shootout on Saturday, and they loved him and they were trying to get him, so they came back for 16. But Boston just came in there a little bit early, took him away. So I think they sort of I don't know about panic, but they weren't quite sure what to do at that point. So they're like, yeah, we'll just take Isaiah Stewart, I guess. I don't know why they just didn't take Bey then, but oh well, I guess. I don't know.
Mitch is plowing through his whiskey, by the way, gentlemen. He's on his second glass already.
I kind of like it. You guys might hate it. This will be a Mitchell bottle.
I'll be sipping for a while.
Yeah, I'm sipping
for a hot sec here.
I'm sipping for a while. But going back to Isaiah Stewart, I did read, I don't know exactly who it is, Tom, you might know, but one of your coaches, assistant coaches, or GM had a connection with Isaiah Stewart. So
our GM was a coach with So he was on the Syracuse staff with the current Washington coach 10 years ago or something like that. So he knows him, they had a connection, so I think he probably called around and asked about Isaiah Stewart, so that's probably the one thing.
Yeah, that was the one pick that I thought was weird. The other 2 I loved.
I did read that it is technically Christian Wood insurance in a way in case he doesn't come back, but I mean that's still a terrible insurance to have. It's
not great.
That's some penny stock insurance.
Let's flip the script a little bit here and let's talk biggest risk picks or biggest bust potential picks. Whose picks do you not like so far?
So I don't hate. We love this guy in our mock draft pod. But Onyeka Okongwu to the Hawks, I don't fully get it because they're trying to win now, but they got a center, but they already have Collins and Capella. I mean, is he playing a lot for you this year? Does he help you make the playoffs in a year where the GM's trying to keep his job?
Yeah, that's kind of a weird pick because they do have Capella there, and he's kind of
they just got him too. It's not old. It's not.
Yeah, it's not like they're trading Capella right now.
Capella has been brought up in trade talks.
I've heard John Collins has.
John Collins is also so both of their big men have brought up in trade talks. So it might be hinting that someone's on the move there in Atlanta, but definitely an odd pick because he doesn't have a clear path to getting minutes right now.
I mean, so Mitch and I both raved about him last week, but still, just the fit was just odd. I think he's still. I mean, I still think he has a ton of upside and can be a great player. Just I'm not sure what he's doing this year for the Hawks.
I was a little bummed out when it was the Hawks that took him because I do think that he has a ton of potential, and he is. I think we mentioned he's kind of Bam-like, where he's going to be really versatile as a center. He kind of fly all over the defensive end. And so I don't love the fit with the Hawks. I kind of wish that he had gone to a team that actually would start playing him immediately. But you never know. Maybe moving him in, he can develop underneath Clint Capella would be a good thing for him too.
If I had to guess too, I bet the Hawks were trying to get Williams or Okoro and they just missed both of them. And they're like, well, I guess we're taking Okongwu now too.
They definitely went with best available. Yeah, they definitely went with best available at that pick just because. You're right. They probably were going for a wing or a guard, and
because it's probably too high for Vassell at 6, and I mean. they had I guess Abdi was there, but he's not going to do much either for the playoff push. So I guess they were just sort of stuck with Okongwu at 6 there.
Also, Vassell to the Spurs.
That was a steal.
Yeah,
absolute steal. I saw that and I was like, God, it's gonna be a good pick.
Yeah, he's definitely
a killer.
The Spurs had a good
guy.
draft with Vassell, and then they ended up getting Trey Jones. Those are two those are two like big Spurs guys. Another guy that fell that could make an impact is Denny Avdia.
He'll for sure be off the bench for the Wizards in their attempt for the 8th seed in the East this year, I guess.
The one thing I'm worried about if I'm a Wizards fan is back in the day they drafted another European kind of do-it-all guy in Jan Vessel.
Ron Vesely.
Ron Vesely.
Yeah.
And he was terrible. He was really bad.
He was worse than Hazonia, right? Wasn't the same draft or no?
He was arguably worse than Hazonia.
That's tough
I
to
think,
do.
I think
he's
he's
still in the league.
I think he's older.
Years.
I think he's a little older than. I'd have to do some a deep dive research.
It wasn't that far
on
off,
Vesely.
yeah, but
that's the one kind of like shell shock thing I'd be having if I was a Wizards fan. But I do like Avdia falling as far as he did, and he kind of does fit with what they need anyways.
How do you guys feel about Patrick Williams at 4?
It was I mean, people were talking about how he was just raising up the draft, through the last several months, and I guess it just goes to show how much a team like the Bulls fell in love with your kind of do-it-all big forward.
And the Bulls don't really have a drastic need at any of their starting 5. I don't think so. It's it's fine for them to sort of take a risk at him at 4, not really have much to lose with that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it was an interesting pick. I just know that
I was surprised for sure.
Another guy that we talked about a lot in our mock draft pod, and another big name, is Cole Anthony going at 15 to the Magic. They get another point guard.
It was higher than us. We had him at 28 or 9.
Yeah, so that was definitely an interesting one. I don't know how you guys feel about that one.
Bad.
I mean,
I feel bad about it.
I think our board here is unanimous.
Bust.
I'll let the 2 Duke fans take over from here. About
Jay and I call him
the
the worst version of Austin Rivers, so it'll be interesting to see him try and steal Mr. Fultz away. I guess that'll be fun.
Yeah, that's gonna be a weird backcourt.
Yeah, Jay, read your tweet. I know you love that tweet today.
So I sent Tom this tweet before, and it says,
gold.
It goes, fitting that even Cole Anthony's NBA draft projections are going 6 to 22. So 6 for 22.
Loved it.
I on the Cole Anthony thing, I was going to say that I think that he was one of the bigger reaches, and for a guy that's going to be a bit of a weird fit for the Magic, but I also can understand where the Magic are coming from, where they're going for a boom or bust guy. Cole Anthony, at his peak, can be a really good basketball player, a good creator, really quick, really athletic, and could take off, but I thought that it was a big-time reach for a guy who was injured and has been fairly inefficient.
Yeah, he's definitely a reach for sure. What about Puka? Oh God,
Poku.
I'm gonna butcher this.
Poku.
Pokaveski.
We'll let Mitch take that
to
one.
the Timberwolves, which is definitely a pick that but then they traded to the Thunder. Sorry, so he's actually going to the Thunder. There are so many dang trades, y'all.
They got him in the end. I missed that. The Thunder wanted him.
So
the Thunder ended up getting him.
They traded up for him? That's okay. Never
So
mind.
the Thunder really wanted him. That was the one guy they had their eye on, and it's kind of funny because they have all these draft picks. So for the next 3 years, I feel like they could always just pick one guy in the draft they want.
It's 5 years.
And they can just trade up and be
just
like,
lotto
here's
tickets.
3 first rounds, so we can get this guy right
Just
here.
lotto pick for them next couple of years.
I could be mistaken, but I believe they have at least 3 first-round picks for the next 5 or 6 years. They have 18 first-round picks in the next 6 years.
Clippers,
or something crazy.
Rockets.
It's ridiculous.
Their own, I guess.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how many they have, but they are going to have first-round picks 4 days.
Them and the Pelicans will be doing that for a while.
Poku's not going to play anytime soon, I don't believe, for the Thunder, but he's definitely a boom or bust guy.
He is a solid 190 when he's wet, so he needs to put on some weight here before he gets in the NBA anytime soon.
So this was part of the trade that sent Ricky Rubio and then 2 other later firsts to the Timberwolves. So the Thunder must have really wanted Poku. I'm gonna go with Poku.
Yeah, we're gonna call him Poku.
Pokazevsky is what his name is, but Poku.
If we
is
ever
just
talk
more
about
fun.
him again after tonight, he's Poku.
He is Poku, and I think we will be talking about him because I think that he is absolutely going to be playing this year for the Thunder.
This year.
Wow. I think he's getting
2 weeks from now.
I think he's getting minutes for the worst team in the Western Conference.
The
takes.
Thunder are going to be competing for the 8 seed this year.
I was like,
Really?
all right.
I think they will.
I think that they are going to. end up being last place in the West, barring the Rockets just like wholesaling their team. But
they're not. They don't have a great roster. If you look at their roster up and down, the roster is not very good. They are going to lose Gallo most likely.
I also think that they like lost Donovan, who's not like a great coach, but he's not a bad coach either. And just like a new system they're trying to learn to, and everything.
Have they replaced him? Did they bring someone else in yet, or are they still waiting?
Didn't they hire the top assistant?
Did they officially do that? I wasn't sure.
Quick research check.
We probably. You can tell how much research we do in a normal podcast.
No,
right.
We're just winging it with this one.
But I would be doing you a disservice, Mitch, if I didn't give you a chance to rave about your boy Peyton Pritchard going 26 to the Celtics.
So
Oregon boy.
I wanted Peyton Pritchard at 46 because I kind of thought that that's where he was going to be living. But I love Peyton Pritchard. I've been watching him for a long time now, and he has like NBA point guard kind of written all over him, where he actually he can shoot threes. I think that he's backup NBA point guard probably is where he actually lives, and that's what he's going to be for the Celtics next year. He's got a great handle. He was always delivered for us in the clutch, had a really good way of getting to the rim and scoring over bigger guys, and had that deep range. So he kind of has a little bit of it all. I don't know if he's as athletic as a lot of the guys that are in this draft or his counterparts in the NBA, but I love Peyton Pritchard. It was definitely a reach, but I think that's going to be a good pick for him.
I do agree that he is a fun guy to watch. He's definitely kind of got all the aspects of the game down well. He doesn't do anything fantastic, but he's kind of well-rounded, definitely. And going back to the Thunder, they did promote their top assistant. It's Mark, I'm going to butcher this, but Dagnolts? Dagnolts?
There's no way that
Diagonal?
that's right. Diagonal? The
You
diagonal.
tell me how to say that.
Diagonal sounds right.
Diagonals.
No, that's... we'll figure this out.
It's Mark. They
Mark.
promoted
We'll do the
Mark.
triangle
Marky
offense
Mark.
next year
Our
with
boy
diagonals.
Shout out to Mark. He inherited a terrible team.
Oh, he's going to be a terrible coach. He looks like a 12-year-old.
It's not a good sign.
That ain't
wow.
great. We're looking at a picture of
That's
him
not
now.
a very intimidating
That's
looking
not
guy.
great. We do have to also give a shout out to our boy Desmond Bain, our TCU guy, going the last pick of the first round. Broke my heart as a Mavs fan because we had the 31st pick, but good for him to go into the first round and getting a guaranteed contract.
Grind Nation, there we go. He'll fit right in there.
I am really happy for Bane, first of all, getting that sneaking into the first round, and that means that he gets a guaranteed deal, as opposed to when you're getting to the second round, then it's up to the team's decision as to how long your deal is. It could be 1 year, it could be two-way. But getting into the first round, being that even that last pick, he has guaranteed himself a rookie scale contract. He is going to be playing for Memphis, which I think is a really good fit for him. They kind of needed shooting, and they kind of needed backup wings and shooting guard. And so he's going to fit in perfectly right there behind Dylan Brooks. And I mean,
Grayson Allen, Desmond Bain, to be legendary.
Grayson Allen
I was just
will
gonna
not
ask,
play over Desmond Bain.
I was just going to ask Tom, does Desmond Bain steal Grayson Allen's
Dude,
spot
Grayson was
on
good
that
in the
team?
bubble. People forget.
Grayson
got hot a couple times in the
Grayson has
bubble.
actually carved out a decent little role for him in Memphis as well. He's definitely comes off the bench and helps out. But
Yeah.
I do think that Desmond Bain he's got a spot in the NBA. He definitely deserved to be a first round pick. He's well-rounded. Yes, he doesn't have the greatest vitals in terms of wingspan and overall height, but he can shoot the ball, he can play defense, he's a hustle guy, he's a team player, definitely can help a team win. And Memphis is very lucky to have him because I was real grumpy for a little while after he went and the Mavericks had 31.
Ethan has been big time sad boy season with what the Mavericks ended up going.
Yeah,
with.
where's the rant? I want the rant tonight.
I was not
Give me the rant.
happy with
Let it
how we
out.
handled our situation today. I will say that. I was going in with so much expectation, and we traded away Seth Curry for Josh Richardson, which I do not think is a good trade. I will stand by that. Maybe I'll eat my words. I generally tend to because I get all fired up for no reason, and then I ended up eating my words later because everyone here is smarter than me. But yes, I do not necessarily love the trade that we made today. Not super high on the Arizona guy that we picked, Josh Green. He's a good defender and everything, but I thought we had better players on the board. Sadiq Bey was the guy I was really high on, and we let him go, and I was all about it. Tom's over here pumping his fist. You have every right to be. Sadiq Bey is a great player, and I think he'll turn out to be better than Josh Green. Mavs don't really play second-round picks very much, so maybe Tyrell Terry or Tyler Bay will crack into the rotation. We'll see, but
Next Brunson.
in the grand scheme of things, like, yes, Brunson, I was literally looking back. I cannot think of another second-round pick that the Mavs picked that we played in a long time. So not very much high expectations for our second-round picks, but definitely not happy with what the Mavs did today. Hopefully I'm eating my words here in a little bit.
I think you will be. I like Josh Green. I think that you guys clearly prioritize defense.
Because you needed to.
It's a big defensive day today, but I do think Luka needs some help on the offensive end, and I think losing Seth Curry is going to be definitely a tough pill to swallow come time we take the court, especially without KP for the first month and a half of the season or so.
No, that's fair. That's totally fair, and as I understand that as a Mavs fan, you're kind of probably hoping for something big to happen in this draft, and then as the time went by, you just kind of made more picks, and you are bringing in 3 rookies, and Carlisle's not the best guy. He doesn't like playing. He
also doesn't like rookies. Like there's not a rookie that out there. Like Carlisle wants you to be polished, ready to go, and like a professional when you walk in the door. That's why Jalen Brunson played, is because he was a 4-year guy, polished, professional, just good. And you rookies on the Mavs better be ready to play, because Carlisle is ruthless to rookies.
I had also thought about this too, but just the value of Josh Richardson the last year has dropped so much. He was the main asset in the Butler trade, and now he's getting traded for Seth Curry. That's kind of it, which is just a major decrease in value.
I stand by it. I think we lost that trade, and I don't think I'm alone in people thinking that.
No,
if you look at his splits, you look at the impact he had on the court last year, I think Seth Curry is a much better player than Josh Richardson, which is why they had to attach a second-round pick in that deal.
I think Terry will compensate a little bit, but I mean that he's a rookie, and it will take time for him to grow into like a full role for the Mavs probably next year. So
absolutely. But enough about my Mavs. I'll rant about them another day, I promise. Let's talk about the second round here, which literally just finished up about a couple of minutes ago. We're looking at the TV right now. They're talking about Klay Thompson's injury, which is another topic we'll get into on Sunday. Sunday's podcast will just be a recap of everything going on, get as many people caught up as we can, walking through everything. But right now we're just reacting. Second round picks. Give me your favorite pick in the second round, and give me someone who could be an impact starter day one that someone found in the second round.
Oh, you're asking a lot here.
Well, it's got to be CJ Ellaby for the Portland Trailblazers. So the only pick that we made, and I'd be lying if I knew who this guy was before we made the pick. Been watching some tape since. I'm bought in. He is Afro Man. I love CJ Ellaby. Honestly, actually, who I think is going to be a contributor in the second round is going to be Jordan Nwora.
Yeah.
Going to the Milwaukee Bucks. He's a stretch 4. He's a fill it up kind of guy. He was one of the dudes who I wouldn't have been surprised if someone took him in the first round, even though he was projected for the second round. I think that he's a good fit for what Milwaukee wants, and especially since they just shipped out DJ Wilson, he'll probably see some minutes coming in even as a second-round rookie this year.
I'd say for me, probably the best value for the second round is probably Xavier Tillman at 35 going to the Kings. I mean, he was just a do-it-all kind of guy at Michigan State. They're talking tonight a lot of Draymond Green comps for him. He can definitely come in there and get some boards, get some assists, play good defense. He was Big Ten DPOY last year. He's just a good defender. He can definitely eat some minutes for the Kings as they try and get back into some kind of relevancy there in the West.
Quick note, I think they went to the Grizzlies.
Who, Tillman?
Yeah, Xavier Tillman at 35. I don't know.
I'm looking at Kings.
I have him to the Grizzlies, and this is like.
Oh yeah, it says post-draft analysis is going to the Grizzlies. Well,
that's even better. More of these
even
trades
better. I
think so fucking confusing.
That's probably more thing that he's on the Grizz because he's just a good Spartan dog that they like to say up there. He'll just be a good defender for them, and that'll just help them out a lot. So there you go.
We are doing our best here, but literally these teams are flopping picks all over the place. Like
they're drafting every 2 minutes, and there are trades every like minute and a half.
We're flying by the seat of our pants here, and there's trades going on like after the draft ends too. People are still swapping players, so bear with us as we try to hang in there. Again, this is live. We are literally just kind of rolling through it. There's a lot of guys here that we had going in the first round of our mock draft that fell to the second round. How do you feel about these guys? We got Vernon Carey, Theo Maledon, Robert Woodard, Tyrell Terry, like Ramsey. We're just gonna say Ramsey.
Oh, we did have Ramsey.
Yeah, like and even guys like Nico Mannion who who are supposed to be like high draft picks. Where do you guys think these guys go? Or not? What do you guys think these guys do? And like, what's their impact?
Well, I think that two really good picks here in the early second round were Tyrell Terry and Theo Maledon.
Yeah.
Both I assumed were going to be going in the first round, but I think the Mavs got I don't know if he's going to replace Seth Curry, but he's definitely a playmaker and shot 40% from three in college. And I think that whether he actually plays in his rookie year or not with the Mavericks, I think that he's a really good player. I also think Theo Maledon, who went to the 76ers, is
Thunder.
Also
76ers, and then recently traded to the Thunder. Again,
You didn't know that, Mitch? Come on.
We're flying by.
reportedly traded to the Thunder.
Yes, as of
Very unprofessional, Mitch.
As of a few minutes ago, was traded to the Thunder. So,
anyways, he'll go to the Thunder. He'll probably start for them or something. I don't know. But
No, it's poker. What are you doing? Poker's gonna start for the Thunder. We talked about this.
Literally, we're looking on our phone as like a live updated thing of like where people are, and it's just updating by the minute.
It is absolute anarchy in this app right now.
Especially in the second round. The second round is just all over the place. Here's the thing. Like, let's go back to the lottery here. Let's shift.
Thank
gears.
God. We know those picks.
Let's go back to where people aren't moving. We've talked about the second round, and the second round's too confusing to talk about right now. Let's go back to the lottery here. Is there any just major surprises in the top 10? Like, who in your mind in the top 10 could be like was a big surprise tonight?
Jalen Smith.
Yeah, you got it.
Jalen Smith, I actually love him. He's a really good, big defensive guy. He can shoot as well, correct?
Yeah, he can pop.
Mm-hmm.
He can pop
and pop.
he can pick and pop.
Yeah.
He's 6'11", 240, 250, I believe. So he's just a big body they can throw down there. I really liked him back when he was going to be. I thought he was going to go in the mid-late 20s. Tom can probably talk a little bit more about him, but I thought that was a really interesting pick that's actually going to work out. Suns have a weird thing of drafting guys early. I guess who they have last year? Cam Johnson.
Who's actually not terrible.
Who actually plays
turned
for
out
them.
well.
Yeah. I think we haven't talked about this guy yet. So Obi Toppin did get drafted 8 to the Knicks, and we did joke about before that the Knicks got like their 20th power forward to the roster. I don't know how that works with like Randall Robinson and who else is there, but we'll see.
Bobby Portis.
Yeah, Bobby Portis is there.
Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle.
Yeah, but just
They take positionless to a whole new level and be like, we're all going to just play the same position.
Put 5 power forwards out there. It's position.
they must still think that like Pat Riley was coaching them like in 1995 or something with Ewing and Starks and those guys. But I mean, they're pumped to have him. So I mean, I think he's a good player. We'll see how they try and incorporate him into their system. So,
and judging by his reaction, we were, in all fairness and honesty, Mitch and I were on the air doing a show earlier today, and we had it on in the corner, so we were kind of half paying attention to at least the first probably 20 picks, and then we came back and did a bunch of research.
Yeah.
But when we saw Obi Toppin get picked, he was very emotional, very excited to be a Knick, which can't say that about a lot of people right now. But I mean, Mitch, you said this is where Obi Toppin's career ends, so I would like to hear you elaborate on that.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. He's playing for the New York Knicks next year. And so if you're drafted by the Knicks, you're probably not going to have a good career. Now, I mean, that's fairly facetious, but I actually really like Obi Toppin. I am nervous about the fact that they have so many forwards, so many like power forwards, and so where does he actually fit in? Are they going to force him to play small forward, or are they going to put him in a position that he doesn't like want to be in or like fit best in? I'm nervous that the Knicks don't have a very good developmental staff. Like they haven't. I mean, Mitchell Robinson has turned out pretty good, and I still have hopes out for RJ Barrett, but Ntilikina hasn't turned out very well. Kevin Knox hasn't turned out very well. And I really want Toppin to go somewhere else. I knew that the Knicks were high on him. I knew that Toppin wanted to play for New York. But I'll be honest, like I'm not super excited about the whole Obi Toppin thing to the Knicks. I hope that he ends up having a better career or a good career overall. I hope he does end up turning into I don't know, some sort of like star for them or something. Maybe he fits pretty well next to RJ, but they have to they're gonna have to trade some pieces and kind of refigure their roster, because I really like Toppin. I think that he could be a good fit for them if they kind of reconstruct what they're doing there. But overall, I now think that Toppin will not be successful in the NBA because he plays for the Knicks.
Also, knowing Tom Thibodeau, Toppin will either be playing 35 minutes a night in their 7-man rotation, or getting 2 minutes a night. So it'll just really depend on what Tom Thibodeau's plan is for his career this year, I guess. So we'll see what happens with that.
All right, so we're going to take a break here, as is custom on our podcast, and let's get into another talk about this whiskey. I can confidently say Mitch is on his fourth
The start of the
glass.
third. Just started the third.
I'm a chunk of my way through my second. Jay and Tom have yet to fill up, so
I'm at the bottom of the first. So
You're at the bottom. Can I get you a refill then?
Sure.
That is
you
not
don't
a
have to.
confident yes.
You don't have
Tom.
to.
No, not everything on this
Maybe all
podcast is
four.
going to be good.
Maybe I'll decide how
Tom's
much
gonna
Tom wants
pour.
right now.
All right, do you want to know what the professionals have to say about the flavor?
I'm not
Where you
professional.
say
Don't-
it's where you say yes.
Yes, I would love to. And also,
Yeah,
in
man.
Tom and I's defense, I poured it very high and strong for us the first time.
Did you?
around.
Okay.
Okay, so they say that a lot of the flavors that you should be getting is there's a lot of tobacco and there's oak, there's
Menthol.
some cherries.
Menthol.
They don't say menthol, but I got menthol.
I get menthol. I'm not going to lie. It might be the drunker I'm getting, but the more I drink this, the more I like it.
The easier it is to drink, the drunker you get. Which is
It
a
is
bit of a
easier.
dangerous combination.
I will say my ice cubes have melted, which isn't hurting the situation, but I can say that this definitely has a lot of flavor. It definitely has the most bite of anything we've had on the podcast so far, by far. It's also low key. I know you guys can't see it, but if you look it up, the packaging is pretty nice.
It is nice.
I'm sure we can post something on. I think we already posted something on our
Mac did, yeah.
Instagram. But also, shameless plug. We have an Instagram. We have a Twitter. Follow us if you made it this far. Probably should have said this earlier, and we'll say it earlier in the next podcast. But team_morale_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Give us a follow.
Twitter is
It'll be
at Team Morale Pod.
Oh,
yeah.
Maybe I
It's
should
at
change
Te-
it to match our Instagram.
We should probably do that.
That's probably a better call.
But follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Tom runs our Twitter page. Mac, my girlfriend, runs our Instagram page. She is awesome. She was posting all sorts of fire
She
stories
posted
and stuff
all
tonight.
30 picks.
All 30
That is
first
some
round
stamina.
picks.
And trivia.
And
There was
trivia today.
trivia.
We need to hats off to you, Mac, if you made it this far on the podcast, which you probably haven't, because we ramble a lot here. But if you made it this far, shout out to you. This moment's for you. Appreciate all you do for us. And our Instagram's pretty fire. Our Twitter had some hot takes tonight.
Some funny takes more than hot takes. I don't know.
Our Twitter had a lot of Pistons content going on tonight.
A whole lot of Pistons content. Tom, any thoughts on that?
mean, the Pistons made a lot of moves since Monday. I don't know if they're better or worse, but since Monday, they have gotten Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, something called Saban Lee, the corpse of Trevor Ariza,
The corpse of Trevor.
Landry Shamet, who has to be so mad he's coming from the Clippers to the Pistons, and Tony Bradley, while only losing Bruce Brown, Luke Kennard, a first round pick that has 5 protections on it, so that's a good sign. And 1 second rounder in cash. So we didn't lose that many assets and just got a bunch of stuff I don't know what to do with. I don't think Trevor Ariza will be here by the time the season starts. This team still is bad, but I think they're more interesting at least, which gives me hope and just sort of gives me more of a reason to follow than when the day started today. So I feel a little better. That's all I can ask for being a Pistons fan right now.
Good for ladies' man Tom.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Landry Shamet went to the Nets.
Oh, really? Oh, man. Well, that's fine.
He did.
I knew I was going to get one of those wrong. There are just too many assets.
There's a lot moving on today.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know who's starting for the 2 then, but that's fine. We'll still be bad in a year. That's okay. We'll just keep getting good draft picks.
Hey, but you got Trevor
shit.
Ariza.
Shamit's not make or break anyways. It didn't matter much to the Pistons anyways.
Who'd you end up? Is that the Sadiq Bey pick? I think it was that trade.
Yeah, for Kennard,
For Kennard. So I think it's going to turn out to be a good trade for you anyways.
Yeah. But anyways, going back to the whiskey, it's good. It burns.
The experts over there really bringing in their full scope of analysis.
It's good and it burns. That's all I have to say.
Okay, I actually really like it. I get where they are saying like the it burns thing because there is like a lot of oaky flavor and there is a lot of spice on the back end of it. But overall, I do like it. I think that there is just enough sugar to just enough bite on it to where I mean, I'm on my third glass. I'm having a good time over here. I love it.
I feel like every podcast we say either it hurts or it burns or has a kick to it. So maybe we need to try and like find some new like words or just be more manlier next time for these podcasts.
All right, next podcast, it's the No Ice podcast. We are drinking it without ice.
It's the Bear Grylls podcast.
We're gonna Bear Grylls it out here, just Survivor Man it.
I'm gonna get the hardest to drink whiskey that I can find. Then
we're going the No Ice podcast. You've heard it here first. We will make sure that is a thing. Anyone is welcome to drink along with us. We generally post hints on what we're drinking on our Instagram and on our Twitter. So if you follow us there, you'll be able to maybe guess what we're drinking, and we're pretty responsive too. So if you add us or tweet us or comment on our stuff, we'll pretty much always respond.
Yeah, we'll definitely respond. Good shameless plug there.
Well, we won't, but
the other people who run it.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I did want to talk about.
All right, so going back to basketball. Right?
Back to basketball.
Okay, cool.
We're back on it now.
See, that was a little bit of booze, a little bit of beer, and a whole lot of basketball. Maybe we flipped them tonight. But,
you guys had a lot of takes on how harsh this was. Okay, one thing I did want to talk about tonight before we kind of glossed over it was number 1 overall pick, Anthony Edwards, and overall, how do you feel like the Timberwolves did tonight?
I mean, they came in with a lot of expectations. I think, in my opinion, they took best available at 1. There's a lot of question marks in this draft in terms of people trying to figure out who was the best, who was going number 1. I think the fit's there. I think they made a lot of good trades. Getting Ricky Rubio back on that team in the trade today, like their roster actually looks good. And as a Mavs fan, I'm worried because they're making a push for the playoffs. The Suns are making a push for the playoffs. They are definitely in a dangerous position.
I thought their pick in I think it was 23 of Leandro Bolmaro was kind of an interesting pick. Is he supposed to come over and play this year?
I don't know. I think that he very well could have stayed in Europe. He's playing for Barcelona, which is a team that I'm sure he's happy to continue to play for another year or two if he had to.
So ESPN says he will be stashed in Europe next year.
Okay. Well, then
so there you go. Sorry, didn't mean to.
Isn't necessarily a bad thing because they have a lot of guards. But I mean, if you look at their lineup, they have Rubio, they have D'Lo, they have Culver still. They still have Cat. Obviously, they have James Johnson. They have a lot of guys who can like fill a lot of different roles on that team. And they got Josh Okogie. They have like some decent depth on their bench as well.
I feel unsure about the Timberwolves as a whole, how they did in this draft, because Anthony Edwards, I'm sure from what I heard, Rosas, who is the GM of the Timberwolves, was trying to ship out this number 1 pick to anybody and everybody, and was literally waiting to the last second to do it and just couldn't find anyone to really take it up. So I think they went with Edwards, who they thought was probably the best fit for what they had and also just an amazing talent. But I read something today about how Anthony Edwards doesn't take basketball that seriously and that football is his number 1 sport and he would change in his heartbeat if he could, and he never really watches basketball, and that raises a lot of concerns for me as a number 1 overall pick. I mean, you can have all of the physical intangibles. I mean, it makes me think of almost going back to like a Michael Beasley, who in all like everything pointed to him being a good basketball player, but just like didn't have the headspace for it. And so I'm a little worried about Edwards. And then picking Bolmaro seemed a little, I don't know, at this point pointless, because he isn't going to be playing for you next year, and you're trying to get better as soon as you can because you don't want Cat to leave.
I mean, yes, but also I don't think their timetable is next year. I mean, I think that they are in a position where they're like a couple years away. They have, I mean, all their good young all their players are still like young. Like, I mean, Cat and D'Lo are still young. Rubio's probably their elder statesman there, and he's still played overseas for a while, so doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires, and his game doesn't revolve around him being like uberly athletic or anything. Like they play smart. I mean, yes, it's an interesting pick, and it's definitely a stash away pick for later. But if you look at his game, I mean, you talked about him in the podcast last week. You liked his game a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's a bigger guy that I compared him kind of to Evan Turner, but he's a bigger guy that is really good at playmaking and is an athletic guy for 6'7" and has like a very good vision on the court. So I do like Bolmaro, and if he does, maybe he can come in next year or a year after that and make an immediate impact. But if I'm the if I'm the Timberwolves right now, I'm kind of trying to pick guys to come into my roster next year, which is why I'm actually a big fan of Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah, and I think for the Wolves too, they probably could have gotten someone like Bane or Terry who could have helped out just right off the bat next year. Would have been not more of a fit, but who knows? I guess
Their backcourt's pretty loaded though. Between, who is it? They've got Malik Beasley, I know, is there now, who's a restricted free agent. They've got D'Lo. They now have Anthony Edwards. Josh Okogie's. Mm-hmm. He's a guard, right?
There's no backup point guard, though. It's
Rubio's their backup point guard now.
Oh, it is now. You're right.
I bet you Rubio starts for them would be my guess.
So you put Edwards at the three?
I bet they'd roll Edwards at the 3. I bet you they go Edwards, D'Lo, Rubio, D'Lo, Edwards. At this point, probably James Johnson, and then you probably roll Cat at the 5.
Yeah,
would be my guess.
Maybe Jaden McDaniels. I actually see Jaden McDaniels being a really good fit next to Cat as a really athletic defensive first 4.
Did Jaden have kind of the same concerns of being like a not very into basketball kind of guy?
Yeah, he's kind of a knucklehead.
Yeah, we talked about him a lot in in a podcast last week, and we talked about how he had the physical attributes being good and had the game, but the headspace just isn't there. And so a couple of questionable picks here for the
wasn't he the one who had 6 techs last year?
Yeah,
that was him. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, very questionable.
I'm not sure if Timberwolves have the right culture there to help those guys out either.
And they have a young coach who would just know he's great for that scenario either.
No, not very good for reeling people
Killian Tilly wasn't drafted. Sorry. I just forgot.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
He actually, I just
saw it too. That's why I thought of that on Twitter. Yeah, he's going to the Grizz. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Killian Tilly undrafted is kind of just an interesting tidbit. I mean, you had him going in the first round. Yeah,
that's a steal.
Everything I saw was that he was probably going to be like an early second, and the fact that he slipped all the way out of the second and now is a 2-way player for the Grizzlies. Another good move by the Grizz tonight.
The Grizzlies definitely did well. So let's talk about teams doing well. Each of you go through who won the draft tonight. What team coming out of this is like, wow, they won the draft?
I think from a value standpoint, I just love the Kings getting Halliburton at 12 and Tillman at what 35. Or no, that was the Grizzlies pick. It doesn't matter anymore. Okay, never mind. I did that again.
All right.
I'm just so intrigued by Tillman apparently.
While Tom figures his stuff out.
I'm panicking now.
I'm not ready yet either. I do want to ask Tom, where do you think Marcus Howard goes?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Can I ask who Marcus Howard is?
No, so he was a stud on Marquette last year, but I was about to say too is that there's no summer league, so guys are gonna get screwed this offseason because they have no chance to prove themselves and make a roster in the next couple of weeks before the actual season starts too. So,
I really like your Kings pick there. Taking Tyrese Halliburton is going to fit really well next to De'Aaron Fox in the starting lineup, and it would be a good fit. I said it earlier in the podcast, and I stick to it, and I'm glad that you weren't biased and did it, Tom, but I think the Pistons won. I was very, very high on Killian Hayes. I was very, very high on Sadiq Bey. I was not on Isaiah Stewart.
I'm not either, don't worry.
But maybe he turns out to be a good big guy for you guys. But just the 2 picks of Hayes and Sadiq Bey, I think, are 2 immediate starters for you. And they kind of do different things where Hayes is really good a creator, and Bey is going to be a really good glue guy, 3-and-D roll guy. My winner of the draft this year goes to the Detroit Pistons.
God,
I think another team.
So happy.
I think another team that did really well today was the Memphis Grizzlies, getting Bane, getting Robert Woodard, a team coming in without a first-round pick, coming out of it with those 2 guys who could definitely make an impact next year, is definitely maybe not the winners of the draft, but the most improved because they came in with literally nothing and they left with two solid role players.
And Killian Tilly.
And Killian
Killian
Tilly, I
Tilly now,
guess.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
after,
that's a
after
good-
the draft. And again, since we are live, we are literally getting updates as we go, which is probably why we sound a little disjointed and all over the place. But overall, hey, first live podcast down, everybody. I hope we all had a little fun. Shout out to old Dominick's, which was something. We drank it. We got through probably 2/3 of the bottle between the four of us, which is something to be proud of. But
Sure, most of it was me.
thank you, Mitch, for drinking the alcohol for us tonight. Shout out to our first live podcast, and have a good night, everybody. Cheers. Another one down.
There we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.